Can you imagine being without the internet for 3 whole days? Yesterday, I was on hold with Frontier, who I'm so furious with, but there we are. We were on hold for 6 hours yesterday, weren't we, darling? And then suddenly we were cut off. So anyway, we're back on now, and here we are. Say good morning to everybody.
Good morning.
Are you cold? He's in Florida. It's warm weather. We're going off to the beach after the show, right, Reese? Because we've been waiting for the internet. We had to wait for the pool guy to come. We've had to wait for so many things. But today, no matter what, we are off to the beach. So good
Even
morning.
if it's raining.
Even if
which
it's raining,
will not.
which it will not. All right. So the pool is now fixed. What have you been doing this morning? Swimming in the pool, and everything's back, hopefully back to normal. So good morning, everybody. It is
National Love Your Pet Day.
Can you say it again?
National Love Your Pet Day.
National Love Your Pet Day. And so naturally, we have a story about a pet. Now, we've had so many pets, it's been very difficult for us to choose which story to tell, hasn't it? We had a lovely story from, and I'm going to just pick up my phone here. We have a lovely story about a cat. Just a second, darling. From, oh golly, wait a minute. That was in my emails. From, is it Cheryl, Chris?
It is Cheryl.
We have a lovely story from Cheryl. Unfortunately, because my internet was down until about 30 minutes ago, I was only able to read it through very, very quickly. I do love the story, Cheryl, and I will not be reading it today. However, I will be reading it at some point, maybe on Thursday, because we've got a couple of stories that we had already planned out that Reese wants to listen to. I'm afraid my grandson comes before everybody else. But we are going to tell a story about a cat, and as it is National Love Your Pets Day, is that right? Love Your Pet Day?
National Love Your Pet Day.
National Love Your Pet Day. We thought we would tell a story that is very much a story of healing, and it's also very much a story of how our pets really, really do make a difference in our lives. So here we go. Are you ready? So once upon a time, right? As all good stories must begin. Yes.
What do you think Pipey is? Because the story's about her.
I don't know, but are you going to be quiet? Let me tell this story. Are you going to listen to the story? Yes. Okay then. So once upon a time, I'm sorry to be interrupted once again. So once upon a time, it was quite a few years ago. In fact, I'm going to say it was about 15 years ago. My daughter Samantha became very, very ill. And in fact, she had to be rushed into hospital. It was an emergency. She had to have emergency surgery. And within, I'm going to say 2 or 3 weeks of coming out of hospital, she was rushed back in again for another emergency surgery. So as you can imagine, sort of having 2 emergency surgeries within the space of a month, and being rushed into hospital and having all of those, she was actually in intensive care for a while. She had bandages around her head. She had pipes and tubes going up her nose. This is your mummy we're talking about, right? And when she came out of hospital the second time, she came to stay with me in Vermont so that I could take care of her. And this was before you were born, Reese. This was before Reese was born. So we're going back, as I said, I think it's about 15 years ago. And because of the surgeries, she became extremely depressed, and she became very distant. In fact, her whole personality changed. And this happens to many people. you know, the effects of the uh, all of the stuff they pump into you through the surgery, the effects of the drugs that they give you, it can it it can create so many problems. It can create so many different things that go on. But with my daughter, she became extremely depressed. She became um, very negative, and no matter what I tried to do, it was almost impossible to get through to her. We went to see different therapists. We tried different things, and as a healer, it was very difficult for me because, you know, I'm a healer and so many people come to me and so many people are helped through the work that I do and that my team does as healers. So it was very frustrating to me. Now, physically, she was getting better and better every day, but emotionally, she was getting worse and worse and worse. And then one day, it was almost as if Gregor whispered in my ear, if she had someone to care for, as I say, this little one was not born at the time. She had someone to care for. She had a little thing to care for. Maybe she would start to come out of her own self. Excuse me, sorry, sneezing. Maybe she would come out of her own self. Maybe she would sort of come out of this depression that she was in if she had another little being to take care of and to think about. So I did actually, because I wouldn't just present somebody with a creature, with a little animal. It's not the right thing to do. But I did talk to Samantha's husband, and I asked him, I'm thinking about getting Samantha a puppy, because I think if she had someone to care for, something to care for, maybe she would start to feel better, maybe she'd start to get better. Is it okay with you? And he said yes. So then, of course, I went to my all-time favorite animal dog whisperer, so to speak, Fred Bradley, who was amazing. He's an amazing trainer. He's well known both in the United States and also in England. And I went to him and I said, do you actually have a puppy? And I explained what was going on with Samantha. And he said, well, you know, we don't actually have any puppies right now. However, we have a little 4-month-old puppy who my son is very attached to, Matthew. Let me speak to Matthew and we'll see what we can do. And it wasn't very long before they both came back to me, both Fred and Matthew, to say, if it helps, we'll be happy to give her this little 4-month-old puppy. And so it happened that it was close to Christmas. So on Christmas morning, are you listening to this part? You know this part of the story, don't you? On Christmas morning, Fred and his wife and son came for Christmas, as they always used to do. And Fred came bringing a huge box, a giant size box. And he came in and he put the box on the table, and we called Samantha in, and she came in and she looked at the box, and then she looked at me, and I said, Fred has brought you your Christmas present. And at that point, the box moved. It kind of wriggled a bit and moved a bit. And my daughter's eyes opened very, very wide. And I think she knew before she even opened the box. And as she opened the box, this little black puppy popped out of the box and went straight into her arms and snuggled her and cuddled her. And it worked. This little puppy gave Mama some healing, right? And slowly but surely, as she started caring for the puppy, because, you know, puppies need a lot of work, don't they? They need a lot of caring. Very slowly, but very, very surely, as she started to care for the puppy, healing took place and she became her usual normal self. Now, Piper, that was what she called the puppy, right? Piper and Samantha, sorry about the noise in the background, but My daughter's getting the ice. You have to stop. It's all right. It is a live show. All right. So Piper and the puppy became very, very, very.
Piper and the puppy?
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Piper and Mama became very, very close. You're right.
Mm.
And they went everywhere together, and they did everything together, and they had a really wonderful relationship until uh-oh until 8 years ago. Well, it was actually 8 years last Thursday, because somebody Friday, sorry, somebody had a birthday on the 12th. A little baby came into the house. Well, Piper wasn't sure about this. She sort of sniffed around and she looked around, and eventually she decided she liked the baby, until the baby started to get loud and noisy as it grew up, and grabbed hold of it to stroke it and to stroke the puppy. And we had to say, please don't pull the puppy's tail. Please don't hold on too tight. And eventually you became the best of friends with Piper too, didn't you? And I can tell you that Piper made a family, didn't she? She made a real family for Reese and his mummy, and actually for me too. She made a really, really, really lovely family, and she gave healing, and she was the perfect little puppy until just about a year ago when.
About like 3 years ago.
No, it's not 3 years ago.
2.
1 year ago.
Not 2020 though. Maybe.
Are we? It's the late part of 2019. You can see he's like his mother. He's very argumentative sometimes. Can we continue with the story? Unfortunately, she got older and older, and they had to make the decision to put her to sleep. And where is she now, Reese? And she's in heaven now. Since that time that she's been in heaven, I know that I've seen Piper. Did anybody else see Piper?
I've seen her.
You have, haven't you?
At home.
You've seen her when you've been at home. And so our children have very special connections with their pets too. So pets can mean a very great deal to us, and they give us healing, and they give us all of the love that we need. Sometimes I think some people, when we talk about pets, they think that it's us who give to them. But those of us who are pet owners, who love our pets, we know that however much we give to them, they give to us
also.
More so, don't they? Also and more so.
Puppies.
What?
Puppy spirits.
Puppy spirits, yes, there are puppy spirits. There are. So that is our story for today. However, I do have another funny animal story to tell you. I'm not sure if you've heard this story, Reese, so it might be a new story for you too. I mentioned a few days ago that I would tell the story about the geese. So we're going to, because it's another story, you're getting 2 stories today. You might even get 3 or 4, we don't know. Because it is another story, what do we have to do?
Once upon a
time. Again. Once upon a time, there was a lovely lady who came to see me for a consultation. And she really, really, really wanted to speak with her husband who had died. So, okay, so now I never met this lady before, and she was very plain speaking, and she said to me, I don't know if I believe in all of this, Rosemary. I don't know if I believe that you're really going to connect with my husband, or is it just something that is in my mind and you read my mind? All right, so I knew that it was important that she have some form of evidence so that she could absolutely know that it was in fact her husband. So I asked Grey Eagle for his help, and we looked and we looked, and all of a sudden I saw a man in the spirit world, And I could not believe my eyes, because under each arm he carried an enormous goose. 2 geese, one under each arm, and they were massive. And he came to talk to me. As he came closer, he was smiling at me, he was laughing about the geese. And I'm thinking, now, what do I say to this lady? How can I explain that I do have a man here, but he's got geese under his arm? I mean, come on, how often can that possibly happen? And how often can it mean anything? And I thought, maybe she'll think I'm a bit crazy. But at the same time, as I'm saying all of these things and thinking all of these things, this lovely man is laughing at me, shaking his head, and is saying to me, she won't think you're crazy. This is what she needs. This is the evidence that she needs to prove that it really is me. So please, please, will you tell her? So very tentatively and very carefully, I said to the lady, I've got this man who's come through from the spirit world to talk to us, but I do have to warn you, there's something very strange going on, because he has 2 geese, one under each arm. He's carrying these geese, one under each arm. Well, I'd barely got the words out of my mouth when she burst into tears, clapped her hands. She was laughing and crying at the same time. That's my husband and they're my babies. It turned out that she was a farmer's wife. Her husband had been a farmer, and they kept geese on the farm. And they had these 2 pet geese who were also guard geese, not guard dogs, guard geese. And they wanted to make an appearance, and they wanted to let her know that, yes, believe it or not, geese apparently do have souls. Geese apparently do survive death. Geese apparently, if you are a pet, if you have a pet, that pet, through all of the love and all of the caring that you're going to give to it, enables them to transcend death, as we all do. Now, I know that some of you are going to ask me how it works, and just for the record, if you do ask me that question, I don't know. I've no idea. I can only tell you that, I've given these messages. I tell you, I've given some weird messages over the years. I've given weird messages about jelly babies. Just, I have a man saying to me, just tell him jelly babies, he'll know what you mean. And he did. I've had people say all sorts of things to me, weird and wonderful things. I've had things said to me. I've said, I can't say that. I would feel foolish saying that. And then when I say what I'm told to say, it is the right thing, and it's the evidence that people are searching for. So even though I don't know how it works, I do know that it does work. And I do know that of all of the things on that particular day that I was expecting to see, it certainly wasn't geese, and it certainly wasn't this beautiful, wonderful, big guy coming through with his geese under his arm, saying to his wife, I've got them, they're safe with me, and we'll see you again. How wonderful is that? And yes, that is the end of my animal story so far. All right. So, Chris, what do you think to those stories?
It's just so intriguing, Rosemary, to think, how much wider the universe is than what we can see and experience now.
Yeah, yeah. And of all things, to have geese coming through, and for all things, for me to hear Grey Eagle saying to me that when my daughter is in the depths of despair, having had 2 major surgeries, emergency surgeries at that, and having sort of trying to survive, it's amazing how, if we are loving and caring people, to have a little pet, to even a hamster. When I was a kid, I had a hamster. Now you see, I'm into another pet story. Well, I had a hamster, and I loved that hamster uh, more than I could possibly say. And I think that when you give your love and you pour your love into your animals, as I know that those of you who are animal lovers are going to do today, we are going to especially be telling stories today about our beloved pets, particularly about Cachorro and Nino. It's not that we love them more, it's just that they were extremely special and very close to each other. And having had to uh, make that decision for Cachorro just so recently, just less than a month ago, it's still very close to all of us, and we all of us feel the loss of him. So we'll be telling those animal stories and sending out our love and our best wishes. And I just want my puppies to be happy. So I hope that wherever they are, they're frolicking and enjoying each other and enjoying just being alive. Chris, over to you.
Well, you have so many people on just saying their hellos, and Cheryl says, thank you for reading this story. So whenever you get to it, I'm sure she'll be happy about that.
Yeah, Cheryl, I definitely will read your story out, because it is a lovely story, really a lovely story. Unfortunately, today, if we'd have read your story, we wouldn't have had time for questions and so on. But I promise you, we'll read it. And thank you so much for sending it to us. And we're sending love to Pookie, by the way, and I hope you are too. Right.
Mark says, thank you for sharing how love from our fur children do heal us. Oh, how I miss my little Shih Tzu, Gidget Ann. It was painful to let her go in August of 2019. She was my peanut princess. She would
Oh,
often see spirit in my home and would bark at them and follow them in our living area. She always would see them towards the ceiling, always on the east side of my home near our back door. She'd let me know someone was there, and I knew it was my loved ones visiting. It makes me sad today. My first son, Gage, misses her dearly, and I too will not be replacing them like you shared on Thursday.
well, listen, Mark, you mustn't be sad. I know that we're sad because we miss them. And I just came back home to Florida a week ago, and everywhere I look, is where Cachorro was. And the sofa in my bedroom, every time I go to bed at night, I just I can't help myself. I look towards that sofa, and we miss our loved ones so much. But at the same time, I know that Cachorro was in pain. And so although I miss him, uh, I'm I'm not, I refuse to hold on to my pain. I want him to be joyful, and I want him to be happy. And so I know that he's with Nino, and I just want them both to be happy and to be joyful. And for them both to know that when it's my time and I get there, boy, oh boy, am I going to give lots of hugs and kisses. Yes.
Bennett says, I'm here in the kitchen watching you on the TV holding my dachshund Pepper.
Oh, hi, Peppa.
She's sending an affectionate greeting to you and your grandson. Have a nice Sunday. Or
Oh,
like it might be Saturday for them, but Sunday.
uh, well, okay. It is Saturday here. It's Saturday, right? Yes.
Yes.
Making me guess myself.
I know.
Yes.
I double checked on that one too. Um,
Well, we're having a nice Sunday. We're going to the beach this afternoon, and tomorrow, because we've been so locked down for so many days with one thing and another. Tomorrow we're going to the beach for the entire day, and we're not coming back until we feel like it. We won't be answering any phones. We won't be taking any cell phone equipment, nothing at all. So we're going to just enjoy the beach. But we also, you know, on a daily basis. I know that today is National Love Your Pets Day, and I love the fact that somebody sort of made up this day for us all. But my National Love Your Pets Day, mine is every day, so not just a special day today. Yes, Chris.
Carolyn wants to know, do our pets feel terrible if we go away for a few days? Hold on one second. Let's scroll down. Um, our pup is a year old and we got her 4 months and haven't left her for more than a couple of hours. We haven't family in town. So
Okay,
that's it.
so I mean, I'm assuming, my darling, that you're not going to leave her all by herself. So just make sure that she's somewhere comfortable, that she's somewhere safe. I think I mentioned on Saturday, my Rosie, my lovely Brittany. Every time I went away, and I had to travel for work, so it was something I had to do. But every time I went away, she would be fine. And I always made sure that they were with people who took care of them and I know I could trust to take care of them. So she would be fine. But when I came home, she would literally turn her back on me. She would sit down, back straight, head held high, and have her back to me, and I'd call her and she'd sort of turn her head to see if I was looking, that checking, and then she'd hold her head up and her nose would go up, and she was making sure that I knew that she was not happy that I'd been away. But the thing to do is make sure, as much as you can, that they're going to be safe, they're going to be well, and just make sure that when you come home you give them lots of love and kisses. Yes, of course they'll miss you, but sometimes we have to do these things, so try not to be one of those people who says, "Oh, I can't go anywhere at all because of my pets." um, Either take them with you, find a place that you can take them with you, or just find someone who's going to care for them while you're away, and then you'll come back and make amends. Keep going, Chris.
Judith says, my Boo dog has stayed close to me for these past 2 years since he passed over.
Oh,
My other pets have visited me over the years. I know I'll see them again along
yes.
with my family.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. Thank you so much. Keep going, Chris.
Barb says, good morning. One question, as Rosemary has said, survived death. What does it mean and what happens if you don't?
Okay. Good question. Well, you do. You've asked. Let me ask the last question because that was two questions in one, Bob. But that's okay. What happens if you don't survive death? Well, you do. um, you might not like it. Some people don't always take to it very, very much, but we do. And I think that what happens when I talk about surviving death, and really, death is not the end of life. Death is the beginning of a new way of life and a new part of our lives. It's a new stage, if you like. It's like, when you think about a butterfly, it comes out of its chrysalis, it becomes a butterfly. And I think that when, if we look at this earth of ours and we can see it as, it's sort of almost, where, even though it's a big earth, there's lots of space, we are almost like butterflies in this chrysalis. We can only move so far, we can only do so much, we can only see so far, we can only feel so much. But death is rather like sort of the butterfly coming out of the chrysalis, and then we're able to fly, and we're able to see those incredible, beautiful colors. We're able to experience the spiritual energy that not only that we have, but we're able to experience and to connect with the spiritual energy of our loved ones who have already passed before us. So when I say surviving, I suppose it really does mean that we continue on. And I've never had occasion where somebody didn't survive. Uh, it's an interesting question. I think I'll go to Gregor for that one at another time. But as far as I'm aware, and he's nodding at me and put his hand on my shoulder, as far as I'm aware, we all survive. It is how we deal with our situation that is going to be interesting for all of us. Chris.
Cheryl says, my question, maybe you've never had. Do people on the other side have a different name for where they are, or do they all call it heaven?
I think that that it is a name that we on this earth plane. I mean, in different countries and different languages, they that you could call it nirvana, you can call it what else can you call it, Chris? Paradise, paradiso, if you're Italian. People have different names, but basically it is all the same. But we all of us have a different language. Speaking of which, let's look at the language of the dog. And I always say, after all, God is only dog spelled backwards. It's just words. It is how we feel about a place that makes it the place that we are in. So whether you call it paradise or heaven, or whether you call it nirvana, or whatever it is that you call it, there's so many different names for heaven, for paradise, or whatever. It doesn't really matter what you call it, because it simply is that place that we're able to go to, that place that is filled with light and love and our loved ones waiting for us. Chris.
Calla says, I remember a stray dog we used to call Pipucho, and he used to follow my dad every time from a bar a few blocks from home, like taking care of her dad. She always wondered if that dog was an angel or somebody in a dog form, and wondered if he is with her dad in heaven. Thank you in advance.
That's interesting. I don't know whether the puppy was an angel, whether the puppy might have been sent by one of your father's angels. I don't know. I've no idea. And for me to actually discover the truth of it would take such a long time. But how wonderful that your father had that experience. I'm wondering why. Did he never feel like bringing it home to live with him at home? Was it just a dog that followed him back and forth from the pub? What was going on there? So I've no idea, but I like the fact that the dog must have really had a special place for your father. Keep going, Chris.
Darinka says, my lab always took care of me, and it was the best thing that happened to me in my adolescence. Yeah. And I thank you for taking care of me. She has already passed to a happier world, but I remember her so fondly.
Wow. Well, you know, I know that my puppies come and visit me from time to time. I don't look for them too often. I know that if they want to visit me, they'll show themselves to me. They'll make it very, very clear to me that they're around. But as I said earlier, I think that's wonderful, and it's wonderful how our pets do visit with us, and it's wonderful how they connect with them. Just having a moment here, connecting with my own darlings here. Right then. I'm not going sure what I'm going to do with this. We have Cachorro in the house today. That was completely unexpected, and oh boy, and a few others besides, and and I just want them to be. I just want them to be happy. Moving on, Chris. Let's move on here.
All right. Josephine says, my daughter's white cat, Nimby, sits on my chest and seems to bring peace and emotional healing. It's nice to hear your story, as my daughter loves her cat and cuddles her tightly, and he loves to be with her. And when she spoke about how her cat felt when she was younger, it was as if she found a way to say how she felt.
Well, I think that children do seem to connect, don't they, much better in these circumstances. Children certainly do seem to know much more about. They're much more sensitive and much more aware, I think. But I think, you know, many of us as adults are also very aware. I've just been taken unawares at the moment. I'm sorry, everybody. But anyway, let's keep going, Chris.
You should not be sorry about that. We all want to hear what you see.
Moving on.
All right.
I can tell you another time, but if I tell you what I see right now, I'd just be bawling my eyes out and you wouldn't hear a word I had to say. So let's keep going, shall we?
Yes. Jane says, please, could you explain why, if gifted with the ability to communicate with spirit, it's hard to get messages through for yourself? I love your books, by the way.
Oh,
Jane is from Manchester, England.
thank you, Jane. It is frustrating, isn't it? Those of us who do this work, it's I always have learned over the years. I always try to not ask for myself because you know. It's the gift. I feel that the gift that I have is for so many people, and it has inspired and brought peace to so many people, and also to me. And in giving messages to other people, I think lots and lots of times I get the answers that I'm seeking too. I know that if I give a consultation, for instance, if I've got an issue or a worry or a problem that I'm not quite sure what to deal with personally, I'll often be giving a consultation to somebody else, and they'll be given advice from their loved ones in the spirit world, or they'll be given advice from Grey Eagle. And I know that as they are being given that advice, I know that Grey Eagle will often say to me, and you should listen to this. So in a roundabout way, I think we do get messages, just perhaps not on necessarily on a one-to-one level. So um, you just have to be patient, and you have to understand that the universe works in its own way. And so many people, especially sort of in the beginning of when I started to do this work, so many people thought, oh, all she needs to do is click her fingers and they'll tell you everything, and they don't. Which is, I used to think it was an unfortunate thing because I wanted to know everything. But actually, as I've gotten older, I've learned that in fact, knowing everything isn't necessarily a good thing. Keep going, Chris.
Well, it's also interesting that you mentioned that, Rosemary, because I've seen you in crowds of hundreds, and we've been on your webinars and we've been in your classroom, and the people who are receiving messages are absolutely thrilled and they get what they need, but it's the comments afterwards when people come up to you and say, I was thinking that same question, or boy, I wish I had asked the question, but she answered it there and I got my answer.
Yeah.
They say it all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. The universe has wondrous ways of making sure that we do get our answers when we need them. And I've always said, and will continue to say, when you come to see someone like myself, you don't always get what you want, but you always get what you need. Yes, Chris.
Mark says, Gray Eagle and Rosemary, when the fortunate are blessed to be well and they prepare to fall asleep for the evening, and the next morning they're found dead by loved ones, when they, the deceased, wake and find themselves in paradise, do they seem surprised and joyful? Not everyone is gifted with this peaceful passing.
Mark, I really like this question, and it is an interesting question. So many people, I'm thinking about a man who used to come to me when I was in England, and he used to come to me for consults, and he was sort of fairly regular. He came to me several times, and he and his son, his teenage son, 18, 19-year-old son, were extremely close. And they had, they would go and have a pint together at the pub on certain nights. And they go to the football matches together. They were very, 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 very close. And this one particular night, um, he decided to leave the pub earlier. He left his son at the pub, and his son came home a little bit later on, and just popped his head in and said to his mum and dad, I'm just to let you know I'm home, and everything was fine. He seemed fine. And the next morning, when his father, went to wake him up because he wasn't yet awake, they found him, as you said, Mark, they found he had passed in the night. There was obviously, they did an autopsy. There was absolutely nothing to see. Nobody knew. The doctors couldn't explain it. It was just one of those things. And I know that as we're talking about this, and Mark, I'm glad you brought up this question, but as we're talking about this, I know that there are some of you out there listening who have had this same experience. Now, when it happens with older people, we can say, well, you know, they were tired, they were old, the heart just gave out, whatever it was. But when it happens to younger people, and especially we're looking here at this particular story that I'm telling you about, this young man who was, you know, very, very healthy, played sports, he was brilliant at, he just had a wonderful life, he had great friends. And there was absolutely nothing wrong with him that anybody could see. So, what was it? So, I always say, and I know this is not a satisfactory answer for so many people, but I always say that when God calls your name, and it's your time, and there's nothing to be done. And I think, and very often, let's say at night time, and this might happen to someone at night time, I think our angels simply come for us and say, come on, it's time. And our soul knows that it's time. It's not, there's no struggle, there's no fighting. It's nice and it's easy and it's peaceful. But when we are in our sleep state, we very often do travel anyway. We travel the universe. Our etheric body, our spirit body, is able to leave our physical body and to travel. And so if it is time, then, you know, we are in our sleep state, let's say. Our soul knows when it's our time. When God calls us, it's our time. And it's usually in those moments where it's very peaceful. And there's an acceptance that, that this is how things were. Now, I was very fortunate in that when this man came to me to connect with his son, we were able to connect with him and we were able to ask him these questions. Were you afraid? Were you surprised? Was it something that you were not expecting? And he was able to tell us and in fact to educate us a little bit in how it worked. My angels came for me and they said it was time, and I knew that they were right. And he wanted to say he was sorry to his dad, but that he had, prior to his birth on this earth plane, had his time here on this earth was already determined, and the time of his death was already determined. So for him, it was not a surprise, it was simply an acceptance of the way things are. But at the same time, he was able to give his dad messages, he was able to give his dad evidence, he was able to let his dad know, I still sit on the sofa watching TV with you, watching the football game. I still like my popcorn, Dad. I still like to do this, and so on and so forth. And he gave so much evidence of his survival. And he was also able to tell his father, I chose you. I chose you to be my family. I chose you to be my dad because I knew that we would have this special relationship forever. So I don't know if that answers your question, Mark, but it's the best I can do for now. But thank you for asking the question. Yes, keep going, Chris.
Miriam says, hello. Is it
Hi, Miriam.
possible to do that therapy of past lives and keep remembering things later? If think it happened to me after the sessions. So it sounds to me like she's gone through some kind of past life therapy and she
Okay.
keeps remembering the thing that came up.
Right. Well, you know, my theory on past life regression is perhaps different than so many other people. And knowing Brian Weiss, and I'm sure if you know anything about past life regression, he is the master. And his book, Many Lives, Many Masters, if you want to read that, that will tell you all about his work. But we would have lots and lots of discussions about it because, you know, my take on past life regression is very different. As we are, let's say we're put in a trance state, some people might call it hypnotized or whatever it is, but in order to do past life regression, we have to be put in some sort of a trance-like state. In that trance-like state, it is possible for others in the spirit world to see what they consider to be an empty vessel. Oh, look, we can dot in here, we can dive in here. I can tell my story of who I am. Consequently, and this is what happens when we do rescue work, and I've done rescue work many, many times, if people had listened to me as I was doing rescue work, as people in the spirit world who were struggling to accept their situation, use my body, use my voice box. If you thought that that was me in a past life state, uh, it would be quite understandable for you to think it, but it actually wasn't. It was somebody else using my physical body for their own expression. And, and often this is what happens. So, oh gosh, we could have a whole hour or 3 or 5 even on past life regression and the way things work. But just be careful. I am a very skeptical person. I'm very cautious. So just be careful about, the things that you do, the things that you believe. Just question all the time. Brian Weiss and I have had a few discussions on his opinions and my opinions, and it was interesting because until he met me, it never viewed what was happening from any other point of view than the one that he saw. But so, talk to different people and get different people's points of view on the subject. Chris.
Judith says, I'm so glad you had a chance to visit with your beloved pets. I see your tears.
Oh, darling, thank you.
Mark
Yes,
says,
don't do that to me. I'll
I
start all over
had to
again.
read it.
It was,
Okay,
it
Mark
was
says,
actually, it was just so unexpected. That's what it was. All right. Yes.
Mark says this is a sad question, for I know there are many cats and
Oh,
dogs who have been abandoned and mistreated by their humans, and they, with nowhere to go, eventually pass. Do they find love and peace in the spirit world and forgive their humans for abandoning them?
Mark, I'd like to think so. Um, and I know that some of you might think that I'm all knowing and all seeing, so therefore I know these things. But I'm going to answer. Well, actually, Gregor is going to answer for me because I don't. I could not honestly say that every abandoned creature is cared for, but apparently, according to Gregor, every abandoned creature is gathered into the arms of their angels. So there you have it.
That's a
Yes,
lovely picture.
isn't it nice?
All right. Sherry Lee is saying, my lovely friend has just passed away at 46 years old. Do you have any messages?
Uh, I I don't. But listening to Grey Eagle, I'm told that I'm hearing the word safe, so I can only assume that your friend is safe and well. Uh, and yeah, that's a nice, yeah. So, and Grey Eagle says, in the arms of their angels, and it just reminds me of that fabulous song and that fabulous singer whose name I've actually forgotten. The Irish girl, in the arms of our angels, that song.
Yeah,
Anyway,
that's a lovely song.
I know. All right. So moving on.
Miriam says sometimes the medium stops practicing and may suffer from spiritual attacks, I guess. So, beyond praying, thinking, and doing good things, what would you advise to a former active medium?
Um. Wow. Well, let me let me ask Grey Eagle this one. Um. I would not. I would absolutely not say that that there would be spiritual attacks. My knowledge and experience of the spirit world is of gentleness, of love, and of care. I would say that if someone was a medium and for whatever reason stopped practicing, I'm not really sure how they could, because I certainly couldn't. But I know that if, for instance, I didn't do anything publicly anymore and I just did this just for me and was with Grey Eagle and just for me, I know that I know that there would be a good reason. I would be getting all the love and all the care and all of the healing that I would need. So I'm going to say that if you know of someone, or if this is you, in fact, that you're talking about, please let us have your name. We only need a first name, and we will absolutely send healing, because I think there's more going on here than you know than either you perhaps know, or that you're telling us. But certainly, a spiritual medium is nurtured, is cared for, is loved, whether or not they stop practicing, as you call it. That, to me, that would be like not living. so uh, I think that maybe some healing might be in order. So if you could write to us, email us, Rosemary at rosemaryaltea.com, or Chris, Kris, at rosemaryaltea.com, and we'll certainly put this person's name on our healing list and send healing every day. Chris.
Right Say has only typed in the name of a person, so I think it's a non-English speaker. So they're wondering if you have anything to say about Betty Groenwald.
I don't. I'm sorry, but no.
Okay.
Keep going.
Sharon says, "Hi, Rosemary.
Hi.
Do our loved ones in heaven know exactly when we are going to die, or do they find out nearer the date?"
Well, at some point prior to your passing, they will know that it's time, and they will absolutely be there. I mean, it's it's a joyful occasion when someone is coming to join them. It's a very joyful occasion. It's almost like, it's so not fair for the rest of us left behind. Those of us who are left behind, we're left behind grieving, and missing that person that we have lost or losing. But then those in the spirit world are getting ready for a party, and it's so exciting, because they're just definitely absolutely waiting for that moment, and they will know the exact moment of that person coming to them. They will know the exact moment, then the exact time, the exact day, and they will be there. Yes, Chris.
Maggie says, "Years ago, I was looking at the clouds and saw a definite outline of a horse, and I knew immediately my daughter's horse Whiskey had passed. And when I got home, I found out it was true. To look in the clouds and see the figure of a horse's head and neck peeking down with a knowing still amazes me."
Maggie, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. I love that.
Dorinka says, "I love listening to you. My mom doesn't understand English, but she tells her and she likes it too. Thank you."
I'm so glad. We are trying to get interpreters who can help you. And if you go to our website, you'll there's one at least, I think, Chris, right?
Yes.
So go to our website, and or you can use Google Translate. There are lots of different ways to do it. And thank you for sharing that with me. Yes.
Sherry's giving you the name of the singer she thinks you're talking about, Martina McBride.
Oh, I don't know that sounds familiar. But I'm not sure. This girl's Irish. She has this beautiful high, just soprano, beautiful voice. I'll look it up myself. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Keep going.
Mark says, "Thank you, Rosemary. This had happened to someone I knew, and that's a beautiful answer."
Good, good.
And Miriam is also thanking you for her answer. And then Zaza says, "Greetings from Sarasota, Florida. Love and light and continued blessing to you and yours."
Hold on a minute. Sarasota, Florida is only up the road from me.
That is true.
It's like, what is it, 30-minute drive? Wow, just imagine.
Sandy's also offering a singer's name of Sarah McLaughlin.
That's it. That's the one.
Both she and Katie came up with that one.
Thank you.
But there's different versions, so maybe Martina also did it.
Maybe so, but yes, it's yes. Yeah,
all right.
It's beautiful. I love the song anyway. Yes.
Miriam has a question.
Yes.
Have you ever heard from the spirits the information that a person that is autistic in this life has any relation to past lives or even the lives of their parents?
I don't quite understand the question. Yes, I've heard from, yes, and spoken to many, I'd hate to use the word disabled because I think they're, or kids with autism, people with Down syndrome, lots of different, areas where people might consider them to be not normal. I feel that they are such special and beautiful, beautiful souls. Come to share with us, come to enlighten us, come to educate us, and sometimes, as with our Tomas, is an earth angel. And so I feel that they're very, very special people. And yes, I've heard from many of them when they've passed in the spirit world. Talked to many people who some might call disabled, but I actually call uh, more than able, more than beautiful, more than special.
Sharon says, I'm often scared about how I will die. Will I know how to find my loved ones and where to go? Is this fear normal?
It is a very normal fear. And in fact, even for those of us who absolutely believe that we survive death, I'll just say that again, that death is not the end but the beginning. Even for those of us who believe, a lot of people get nervous about the process. And so I always tell my patients, I'm going to say this to you too, when it is time, you will know it, and all you have to do is just look for the light and just keep saying to yourself, heading to the light. That's where I'm going. I'm looking for the light. You'll get there really fast. But remember, you won't do it on your own, Your angels will be with you to help you and to help you to cross. So, don't be too afraid, my darling. It's just natural nervousness. I think it's we're nervous of the unknown. Anything that we don't know, we haven't experienced before, can be a bit of a nerve-wracking experience, right? Chris.
We have 2 minutes left, and I have two more comments.
Okay.
So, Mark says, Rosemary, thank you for allowing us to listen to our stories of our beloved pets. They chose us as their pet humans and love us and teach us more than most humans can. For that, I know you are loved. And Sherry says, thank you, Rosemary. You are truly amazing. I loved your book, The Eagle and the Rose, and that's how I discovered you. And Sharon just under the wire got in. Thank you so much, Rosemary.
Oh, well, let me say thank you to all of you for joining us. It's obviously it's a very special day, and obviously, you know, I know there are people out there who don't understand those of us who have pets, who loved our pets. I know there are people out there who are simply people rather than pet people. Um, so we spent the day today, or this morning, talking about pets, and I'm so thrilled to have had so many comments from all of you, and so many of you having your own pets and having your own special experiences with your pets. It just makes me feel very good today. I know that we're off to the beach now, so thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for being with us. Thank you, Chris, for everything that you do. I think people don't really necessarily understand how difficult it can be for you sometimes because you're having to scroll up and down all the time, aren't you, to find all the comments and the questions that we have. I just would like to remind people again, we are having a special webinar where I'm going to be talking to the dead. It's the best way I can explain it. We know that they're not dead, don't we? We do know that the dead are not dead, but that's what I'm going to be doing. We are going to be actually putting it up fairly soon. We're going to be giving you a date when that is going to be happening. We're going to try to do it, I think, on a weekend because apparently more people are able to do this on a weekend than any other time. As soon as, if you are subscribed to our channel, or if you are subscribed on our website, rosemaryaltea.com, or if you go on a regular basis to check out the website, you'll see immediately, we'll put it up straight away. But I do advise you, please, because we are limiting tickets. So, you know, if you want to join in, if you want to join our webinar when we're talking to the dead, where Craig and I will be giving messages to all of you from those in the spirit world, then please book your tickets early, because they will sell out. Oh, hello, they will sell out. You're just in time to say goodbye, goodbye, wipe a tear, baby dear, from your eye. Do you know that song? It's,
I think.
it's a very old song. All right, so thank you to Chris, and especially
I feel like I've heard it before.
yeah, and especially I would like to say thank you to Grey Eagle. Last but definitely not least, we will see you again next Thursday, hopefully, where the spirit world sees all, and it really, really does. And same time, same place, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we'll be back next Saturday
Bye.
for another story um, from the spirit world. So, all right. So until then, we shall see you again. Please, 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 all of you, have a very, very blessed rest of the weekend. Have a very blessed rest of the day. Those of you who have pets, just do what you normally do. You know, just shower them with love. That's all they need anyway. That's all they want anyway. And I'll see you all next time. So bye bye, everybody. Say bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.